So there's a lot of gear you can buy out there for paddleboarding, but today I'm going to share with you some must-have gear that I have found useful over my years of paddleboarding. Alright, let's start things off with one of the most essential and the most useful pieces of gear to have for stand-up paddleboarding, which is a dry bag. Now, dry bag is super useful because obviously you can put all kinds of things inside the bag, whether it's clothing or electronics, and you can just roll it up, shove it to the front of your board, and take off and have total peace of mind knowing that all your stuff inside this bag is going to stay dry. Now, there are all different types of sizes and shapes of dry bags on Amazon, so I recommend you just get on there, find what's best for you, and get it ordered. Alright, the next piece of gear that I highly recommend you get is a waterproof case. Now, this is a great piece of gear to have if you're going for short paddles and don't need to bring a bunch of gear with you. You simply just open up, put your wallet and keys in here, or your phone, close it up, put it on your board, and away you go. Obviously, you can't bring a lot of stuff in here, so this is why I recommend for shorter paddles, but it is so much handier to have and take with you for those short paddles versus taking a full dry bag for longer paddles. Alright, moving on to the Fanny Pack. Now, I've found this super useful over the years. Mostly because for me it's way more convenient to strap to my body, put my stuff in here and take off for a paddle. I don't have to worry about putting anything on my board. Now, I recommend this more for the experienced paddler because this, for example, this one is not waterproof. So if I fall in the water, my things will get wet if I'm in the water for a long period of time. But now that I have more experience, I don't fall very often, and so my stuff stays pretty dry in here because obviously I'm not getting in the water. But if you're still new to stand-up paddleboarding and you're falling a lot in the water still, I don't really recommend using a Fanny Pack right now. I recommend you still use things like the waterproof case or a dry bag so your things don't get wet because you're still getting in the water quite a bit. But once you're more experienced, Fanny Pack is almost the way to go. Now, it's very important for those longer paddles to have some kind of container to hold water, whether it's a water bottle like this or a camelback. Whatever works best for you is very important to have that with you. For me personally, I use both. If I'm bringing a dry bag, I usually bring a water bottle inside the bag. If I'm going for a longer workout paddle, then I usually just bring a camelback because obviously it's much easier to have my body and paddle. The only negative side I do find with camelbacks is it does put some strain on your shoulders as you're paddling along in the water. So that's just something to consider. Now, this next thing is very small, but it's very important to have when you're new to stand-up paddleboarding, which is a floating sunglasses strap. When I was new to stand-up paddleboarding, I didn't use this and I fell a lot, and I lost quite a few sunglasses in the water from falling in the water so much. It wasn't until later on that I finally got one of these, put on my sunglasses, and obviously after that I never lost another pair. So I highly recommend getting one of these things for your sunglasses if you don't want to lose a lot of pairs when you're falling so much in the water. Also, later on when you're feeling more confident, it's up to you whether you want to use this or not, but especially for beginners, I highly recommend getting a floating sunglasses strap. Now, these last two pieces of gear are used for safety. The first thing we have here is a neon rash guard shirt. Now, obviously you can use other bright colors such as red or orange or whatever you prefer, but this is very important to use when you're paddling in high traffic areas. It allows you to be more visible in the water and to the boats that are driving around you. So I highly recommend getting something bright to wear when you're paddling in those high traffic areas. And finally, we have your life jacket. Now, obviously you all know why it's important to have while you're paddling on the water. I would definitely recommend using a life jacket when you're paddling in more remote areas by yourself, just because you never know what can happen on the water. Now, for me personally, I don't wear a life jacket all the time. If I'm paddling close to the beach or if I'm paddling with a group of people, I usually don't have a life jacket on me. Sometimes I will have it on my board though. Now, this life jacket is just a very basic one that you can pretty much buy at any store located near you. The only cons with this style of life jacket is it can cause some restrictions to your arm movement while you're paddling. And when you have it on your body, it can become more difficult to get back on your board again with having a barrier between your stomach and the board in front of you. So for new paddlers who are using a life jacket and are falling in the water quite a bit, they can become quite tired trying to get on and off their board so much while having a life jacket on because of that resistance between their body and the board in front of them. But also, if you're very inexperienced at swimming or you have other health problems, I'd highly recommend that you wear a life jacket as it's an essential piece of safety gear to use while stand-up paddleboarding. So those are just a few pieces of gear that I use for my time paddling on the water, and I recommend that you also look into getting for yourself. Now, obviously there are way more pieces of gear you can use for stand-up paddleboarding, but those are just a few things that I personally use for myself. So anyways, that's it for today. I hope you guys found this video useful. If you're interested in more videos like this, be sure to check out the channel for more content, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you guys next video. Hasta luego, amigos.